This video covers the IGCSE Biology Objective 6.1.5D on the 2025 CAIE syllabus to outline the use and storage of the carbohydrate sucrose. So here's our diagram. We've talked about starch, we've talked about cellulose, we've talked about respiration. Now we're going to be talking about sucrose. So first let's get an understanding of what sucrose is. So sucrose is what we call a disaccharide. That means it's made up of two monosaccharide molecules, in this case, one which is glucose and one which is fructose. So those two monosaccharides are combined together with a molecule of water to create sucrose. Sucrose is commonly known as table sugar. It's what we use. It's extracted from sugarcane or sugar beet, and so we get those granules. Now just remember that glucose and fructose are both reducing sugars, but sucrose is not a reducing sugar. So what is sucrose used for? So here we see a diagram that shows the transportation pathway that exists in plants. And that transportation pathway is called the phloem. And we'll learn more about the phloem in detail and how this whole process works much later. So I'm not going to go into that now. Basically, plants make glucose in the leaves. It's going to be stored as starch grains in the leaf, but it can't stay there. So it has to be transported to other areas of the plant. So the way that it's going to be transported is through this tube called a phloem, and the phloem runs from the root to the leaf in a plant. Now, the glucose molecules are not going to be transported as glucose because glucose is highly reactive and then it could be used for something else, which I've already mentioned. It also is not going to be transported as starch because the starch molecule is too large to be transported. So it can be transported as sucrose, which is a transportation molecule because it's small enough, but it also is non-reducing and it's not as highly reactive as glucose is. So that's why it's the perfect molecule to move up and down the phloem tube. So how does this whole process work? Let's just put it all together from glucose to sucrose to starch. So glucose is produced in a leaf through photosynthesis. Okay, it is converted into sucrose so that it can be transported through the phloem, which then it will be converted into starch, so it will be stored in the root or the modified stem as a tuber. So that is from glucose to starch. Now we can also go the other way. We can convert the starch to sucrose so it could be transported elsewhere, and then it will be converted to glucose to be needed for respiration. This direction will be active during stem and leaf growth of the plant when energy is required for that particular characteristic of life.